Namaste and hello. This is your Sanskrit instructor welcoming you back into lesson number 127. In the previous lesson, we went over adjectives that end in a, and we learned that and we use priya as an example for an adjective that ends in a. And when you are working with a masculine noun, then you have to change that adjective into a noun and decline it like kupaha. So priya, when you're dealing with a masculine noun, changes to priyaha, and then you would decline it like kupaha. For a feminine noun, you would have to change priya into priya, so you could decline it like lataha. And then as a neuter noun, you would have to change priya into priyam so that you could decline it as vanam. And now that we went over some examples with adjectives ending with a, now we are going to deal with adjectives ending in e. So just like how we did for adjectives that ends in a, the example adjective that we are going to use is going to be suchi. Suchi is an adjective that ends in short e, and it means pure. So since it's an adjective that ends in e, we have to consider the nouns that end in e, because these are the types of declensions that we are going to be using if it's masculine, feminine, or neuter. And as we see here, if we have to describe something that is masculine in gender, then we are going to decline suchi, or any adjective that ends in e for that matter. We're going to change it into suchihi. So you're going to put a visarg at the end, and then we're going to decline it like munihi. If we're trying to describe a feminine noun, then it's still going to be suchihi, but we're still going to change suchi to suchihi, but then we are going to decline it like matihi, because matihi was an example of a feminine noun that ends in e. And then for neuter nouns, we would just change it into suchi, but we would keep it as suchi as it is, but we would decline it like vari, because vari was a neuter noun that ends in e. And then we have some examples. So in the neuter, however, adjectives ending in e can be declined like the masculine, except in the nominative, accusative, and vocative cases. Now, what exactly does that mean, that they can be declined like the masculine? That means that if it is neuter, you have the option of, let's say if we have suchi, right, for pure. Now, if it says up here, like in the neuter, you would have to change it to suchi and then decline it as vari. But the exception is that it can also be declined like the masculine, except if you have to deal with nominative, accusative, or vocative. So that means if it's masculine, as long as it's not nominative, accusative, or vocative, where you have to describe that noun, you can take suchi, convert it into suchihi, and then decline it like munihi. But if it's nominative, accusative, or vocative, then you would have to decline it as vari. Okay? So that's the condition. So now we have some examples here. So again, suchi means pure. And here are examples. So we have narayoho is masculine noun that ends in a. It's dual and it's genitive. So since that's masculine, suchi is changed into suchihi so that it can be declined like munihi. And then when you decline that in the genitive dual case, it becomes suchyoho narayoho. Suchyoho narayoho. And then with the sandhi, it becomes suchyor narayoho. Suchyor narayoho. Then next, we have nadyai is dative, singular, and feminine. So that means that suchi has to turn into suchihi, and then it has to be declined like matihi. So after it changes into suchihi, and then you're putting that in the dative, singular case, it becomes suchyai or suchye, suchaye. Because suchyai and suchaye, remember when you're declining something like matihi in the dative singular case, and matihi is a feminine noun that ends in I, short I. In the dative singular case, you have in the dative singular case, you have two options that you can work with. So the examples were for matihi, it was matiyai and mataye. So in comparison, you have suchyai or suchaye nadiyai. Then finally, we have a neuter example. So we have jalat is ablative, singular, and neuter. So since this is ablative, we can either take suchi and we can decline it either like vari and from changing it to suchi, or we can decline it like munihi by changing it to suchihi. So the first example is how it would be if we were to decline it like varihi. That's why you have suchinaha jalat, because it would have been, if this was vari ablative singular would be varinaha. So in relation, you have suchinaha for ablative singular, suchinaha jalat, and then with the sandhi, it becomes suchino jalat, because when a visarga is preceded by an a and followed by a soft consonant, it changes to an o. And then the second example is how it would be declined as if it was declined like munihi, masculine noun that ends in short I. So when this is ablative singular, just like how you would have munehe for ablative singular, suchi becomes suchihe, and then ablative singular, it becomes suchehe jalat. And then suchehe jalat becomes sucher jalat, because when a visarg is preceded by any vowel except a or a, and in this case it's a, and then it's followed by a soft consonant which is ja, then that visarg changes into a half ra, which is represented by this hook on top. So these are the conditions for declining adjectives that end in short I, and this is your Sanskrit instructor signing off with a namaste.